the gin joints in all the towns in all the world. She walks into mine.
He was one of Hollywood's original one-name stars. When the marquee said Bogart, the world got in line.
Over 80 years ago, a film emerged that would change the landscape of Hollywood forever. Casablanca, 1942, a wartime love story set against the backdrop of World War II, went on to become one of the most iconic films in cinematic history, known for unforgettable quotes like, "Here's looking at you, kid," and "We'll always have Paris." It captivated audiences worldwide and remains a classic to this day. But beneath its timeless appeal and its A-list cast, Casablanca has long been surrounded by rumors, one of the most enduring being the idea that Humphrey Bogart was not the first choice for the lead role of Rick Blaine. In fact, some have speculated that the original casting choice was none other than Ronald Reagan. Now, after decades of speculation, the truth behind this myth has finally been revealed. At the time of its production, Casablanca was far from the guaranteed hit that we know it to be today.
Humphrey Bogart is back on the big screen in one of his classic tough guy roles with the current re-release of Casablanca in theaters. Audiences love him now as much as Ingrid Bergman did in the film.
He has a real charisma about him that you just don't find in a lot of actors today.
He's the coolest ever.
I'd stick my neck out for nobody.
But the real Bogart wasn't the cynical man from the streets he portrayed on screen. He was born with a silver spoon in his mouth to a wealthy New York society family. His mother was an illustrator who loved to draw her baby, Humphrey DeForest Bogart, according to his biographer and friend, Joe Hyams.
Filming began under less than ideal conditions, the script was incomplete, Ingrid Bergman, the leading lady, was unsure of how to portray her character, and Bogart himself was hesitant about taking on a romantic role. In fact, Bogart was more accustomed to playing tough, gritty characters in films like The Maltese Falcon and High Sierra, and the idea of stepping into a suave romantic lead role was intimidating for him. Moreover, the script was still being written as production was underway.
That the director, is that Michael Curtiz?
Yes.
Said to you, just sort of play in the middle.
Yes, yes.
Because you didn't know which man you
Don't give
were-
too much to one or the other, because they hadn't decided which man she actually was in love with. It sounds unbelievable, but
What
we were going
method?
to do two ends.
Leading to constant revisions, especially around the love story that drives the film's central conflict. But despite these early setbacks, Casablanca went on to become one of the most quoted and watched films of all time. How did this happen? One of the most persistent rumors surrounding Casablanca is the idea that Ronald Reagan, the actor turned politician, was originally cast as Rick Blaine. This rumor has been circulating for decades, fueled in part by a press release from Warner Bros. In 1942, which suggested that Reagan and Ann Sheridan were the stars of the film. This announcement was made a full year before Casablanca was officially released, leading to confusion about the film's actual cast. While it's true that Warner Bros. Had a working relationship with Reagan at the time, and he was a recognizable face in Hollywood, this claim of his involvement in Casablanca was not as straightforward as it seemed. In fact, the studio's mention of Reagan was likely more of a marketing strategy rather than an actual casting decision. During this period, studios often sought to keep their stars in the public eye, especially when they had new films or projects coming up, and linking Reagan's name to Casablanca, even before the film was made, was a way to ensure he stayed in the press.
We were going to shoot both ends, that I go with the husband and that I stay with Humphrey in Casablanca, and find some reason the husband leaves alone. We never knew what we were doing from one day to the other, so it seems very strange that that picture, of all pictures that were much better organized and written, that one with all the confusion.
While the rumor of Reagan's involvement in Casablanca continues to persist, there's a good reason why it would have been odd for him to have played Rick Blaine in the first place. At the time, Reagan was not yet a leading man of the caliber needed for such a major film. While he had enjoyed some success in Hollywood, much of his work prior to Casablanca had been in minor roles and in films that were not considered prestigious. In comparison, Humphrey Bogart, who eventually secured the role of Rick Blaine, was already an established actor in Hollywood by the early 1940s. Though he was primarily known for his roles in gangster films and crime dramas, he had built a reputation for being a versatile actor capable of handling a wide range of characters. More importantly, Bogart had already starred in hits like The Maltese Falcon, which had significantly raised his profile. Bogart's role in Casablanca became became one of the defining performances of his career, cementing his legacy as a Hollywood legend. His portrayal of Rick, the cynical yet deeply moral nightclub owner, became the benchmark for tough guy characters in cinema, and his romantic tension with Ingrid Bergman's Ilsa remains one of the most memorable aspects of the film. Despite the early rumors, the truth is that Bogart was always the right choice for the role of Rick Blaine. The film's producer, Hal Wallace, was a major proponent of Bogart playing Rick and had no doubts about his ability to bring the character to life. Wallace was a powerful figure at Warner Bros. And had the final say in casting decisions, which meant that any suggestion of Reagan or another actor playing Rick was purely speculative. Additionally, the casting of Bogart made sense given his popularity and growing reputation at the time. He had already starred in successful films and was known for his tough guy image. Casting Reagan, a more lighthearted and less dramatic actor, would have dramatically altered the tone of Casablanca. In fact, Reagan's career trajectory after Casablanca suggests that his screen persona was more suited to comedies and lighter fare than the intense drama that Casablanca called for. One of the reasons Casablanca has endured for decades is the undeniable chemistry between Humphrey Bogart and Ingrid Bergman. However, what's interesting is that initially their off-screen relationship was far from the passionate connection seen in the film.
Actually sat in the commissary saying, how are we going to get out of this, Turkey? It's going to ruin both our careers.
Well, I'm sure that we talked about it, but he usually didn't talk to anyone except the producer and the director, and then he was always bawling them out for something. He was angry all the time.
According to those close to the production, Bergman and Bogart initially had difficulty working together, and their chemistry on screen wasn't immediately apparent. It wasn't until the two actors spent more time together that they began to click, which only added to the realism of their on-screen romance. At the time, Bergman had been cast as the romantic lead in many films, but Casablanca marked her most complex and emotionally charged role. Her portrayal of Ilsa, torn between her love for Rick and her duty to her husband, was groundbreaking and added depth to what could have been a conventional love triangle. More than 8 decades after its release, Casablanca remains an iconic film in cinematic history. Its timeless themes of love, sacrifice, and the moral complexities of war continue to resonate with audiences. Bogart's portrayal of Rick Blaine is still considered one of the greatest performances in film history, and the film's dialogue has entered the lexicon of popular culture. Though rumors like the one involving Ronald Reagan may have surrounded Casablanca in the past, the truth is clear. Bogart was always the perfect choice to play Rick Blaine. His portrayal of the character helped elevate the film to its status as a beloved classic, and his legacy as a Hollywood icon endures to this day. In conclusion, while it's easy to get caught up in the rumors and behind-the-scenes gossip that often surround Hollywood's greatest films, the reality is that the casting of Casablanca was a calculated decision that paid off in ways no one could have predicted. Humphrey Bogart's Rick Blaine remains one of the most endearing characters in cinematic history, and Casablanca continues to capture the hearts of new generations of viewers. It's a testament to the timeless appeal of a film that almost didn't make it to the screen but went on to become one of the greatest ever made.